All right. Welcome once again to another edition of Learning Photography with Duck. As always, I am your host, Duck. And you can see here, we're at the start of a new year. Season 7. I can't believe I've been doing this friggin' stupid thing for 7 years. And ooh, who'd have thunk? But anyways, welcome. I hope everybody had a great holiday season and starting off the new year. To be honest, I don't have anything planned for today. I just wanted to kind of start off by giving you some updated information. First of all, coming up, I'm going to be away. I'm leaving Friday. I'm going to Imaging USA down in Nashville, which is a PPA conference. It goes on. It's like 5 days long. It starts on a Thursday and goes until like Monday or Tuesday. So on next Monday, I'm going to be in Tennessee. Now, I'm hoping to be able to log on and maybe do something. I don't know. If anything, maybe just depending on, if the place is still open, more than likely, I think all the vendors kind of shut down at like 5-ish. So by the time I'm planning on going on, it's going to be pretty dead. So I haven't quite figured out whether it's even worth it for me to log in, because I'm not going to be, with my computer. I'm not going to have any kind of software. It's just me and my cell phone, which, I can log on onto Zoom, but I don't know how interested you guys would be in seeing Tennessee. So
we can do a week without you.
Yeah.
oh, oh,
Oh, really stab him in the heart.
yeah. The red fox. Oh, you got me. Heart attack.
Don't worry about us up here.
Yeah, so I am meeting up with some friends from Ohio down there, and we did give ourselves some work that we're going to be doing. So hopefully, I'm definitely going to be busy, So maybe we'll just do a catch up one more Monday in January towards the end. So we'll skip next Monday, and we'll just pick up the Monday after. I think that'll be easiest. Also, thanks, Alan, for reminding me. I do have an event coming up with CTPPA, not PPA, but CTPPA, which is our Connecticut chapter. I am doing a Zoom workshop. It's a free workshop. It's all on Lightroom. So basically, we got to talking with some of our members, which CTPPA is struggling, but that's neither here nor there. So I asked the guys and gals, what do you want to learn? So they gave me a couple of suggestions. One of them being working with presets, especially now that Lightroom has a bunch of AI. And another member says, I'm really struggling with masking. So we're going to keep it to pretty much those two topics. So if you want to join us, you're more than welcome to. It's going to be this link here. All right. I made sure that I used the same link. And it's going to be, you can see Wednesday, January 21st. And we're starting at 6:30 as normal. Okay. So if you want to join me then, you're more than welcome to. If you know anybody who might be interested in joining and learning a little bit something about Lightroom masking and presets, send them over you could either send them to the CTPPA website or just share the link with them and tell them to log in. So that's what's coming up. Okay. All right. Other things that are coming up, and I apologize for really not having anything prepared for tonight, but because I am leaving Friday, I've been in a bit of a mad rush with one of my current clients. Good news for me, but bad news in the fact that it kind of this way it fell kind of pushed me to really rush this past week. Um, as you guys know, I do a lot of product photography, and one of my bigger clients is a company that manufactures and distributes janitorial supplies. About a year ago, they got bought out by Bissell, and Bissell's been working really, really hard to getting a lot of their products up on Amazon. So these guys here in Bridgeport have been really, really just busting their ass trying to get a bunch of stuff together to put up on Amazon. And they ran into a problem where they needed an extra hand. They were looking to hire somebody else to help them out. And fortunately, somebody said, hey, we have a person that's very familiar with our product line that I think this job would be perfect for. And what it is it's basically just graphic design work, which is I've mentioned it to you guys. That's how I got my start back in the day, was just doing graphic design work before I got into my tattooing stage. So they said, hey, he's familiar with the product lines. He has a background in graphic design. Let's give him the task of creating all the infographics that we need to upload to Amazon. So they gave me a set of products to work through. Basically, it's a test run to see if one, I'm capable of doing the job, and me to evaluate if it's something that I want to do. And also for them to present to Bissell to say, hey, we got a guy, can we allocate funds to pay him instead of trying to hire somebody else? So everything's looking good. But what ended up happening is during the holiday break, I've kind of been rushing to get that project done. So it's left me little time to come up with something for tonight, because I had to get that done before I leave Friday. Now, to complicate things even further, I may have mentioned it. I don't recall. I think I did. I may have mentioned that I am moving. Well, my wife and I are moving upstate. Okay. The schedule has been pushed up. Well, the schedule kept being pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. Now the wife finally decided, all right, we're going to do it. And it's been set to this spring, March sometime. So that means I've been going up on the weekends to work on the apartment. And now it looks like in order to make the March deadline, I'm going to need to be putting in some more time into going up to that apartment to make sure that it gets renovated. Now, on top of that, because of the move, I've been looking for a new studio space. And I think I found one in Bristol. So for those of you in mid-state, it's going to be nice because... Yay! Yeah, literally your next door neighbor.
You're
Yeah.
gonna be about 15 minutes from me.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
And Robert Fiedler is going to be right there as well with the
All right.
ALNB. So yeah.
Hey, Doc,
Yeah.
do me a favor. tell Diane, I said, thank you for making you two move. Please tell her that. Please tell her I said thank you.
Oh,
Are you gonna help?
man, oh man, oh man.
I might help. I might help.
You know, the thing is, you guys have moved plenty of times, I'm sure. It sucks. I hate moving. I hate moving, you know, and what sucks is not only do I have to move a house, but I have to move a studio. I have to move all this crap. Oh, the one good thing about moving though, it's, no, I appreciate that. The one good thing about moving though is it forces you to kind of do a massive
Somebody's
cleaning.
kicking garbage.
Exactly. It just,
You don't know how much garbage you collect staying away.
oh my God, hell yeah. Well, you know, it's funny because when I retired from tattooing, I closed up that studio and packaged everything, and they're literally sitting in boxes in my basement. I haven't looked at those things since 2018. So, you know, my wife is like, just throw it out. I says, yeah, but there's some stuff that is worth some money in there. You know, I should probably sell it. I don't want to just throw it out, you know. But anyway, so that means that hopefully it'll open up some avenues, because I am going to be going into a much larger space. Okay. That means I'll be able to do what I've been wanting to do with this space, but haven't had the room for, and that is to hold more in-person workshops here. You know, and the other thing is hopefully be able to not just do, you know, the online workshops, you know, from the studio, but also, you know, if possible, we'll see how it goes. Maybe do a couple of open call workshops where, you know, I have this idea of doing like an extended workshop, anywhere between 3 to 5 hours, you know, where we get, you know, models in, and we photograph the models, and we use lights, and we have, you know, a fancy background, and just not so much a workshop, but just, you know, let's have fun, you know, using our cameras and photographing, you know, whatever. Okay. So we'll see how that goes. I can't promise anything because I really don't know how it's going to go. All right. I'm looking to possibly go into the studio space with a partner. You know, somebody that I know is a professional photographer. Has been looking for a studio space. And my thought is, if the two of us pull our resources together, we can get into a much, much bigger space than if we were just by ourselves, you know? And I know he's keen on expanding, you know, what he does. So hopefully it'll be a good partnership that, you know, I support his endeavors and he supports my endeavors, and you know, we just make the studio grow pretty big. So that's down the line. Also coming down the line, I had scheduled for I think it was December, with the Art League of New Britain, a 3-hour workshop on you know, off-camera flash that got postponed. It hasn't been rescheduled yet. So you know, I told Robert that let's wait until, you know, the warmer weather. We'll figure out what your schedule is with, you know, the Art League, and we'll just throw something in there. So that's going to be coming down the pike because I definitely want to get that rescheduled because that one is very much a very fun workshop to attend for those who want to learn how to use this thing, in a very lightweight kit with a light stand, an umbrella modifier, and a remote trigger. So that's coming down the pike. Okay. And that's pretty much, I think, I don't even have notes for today. I think that's all I have. I know that the Connecticut PPA is trying to resurrect itself. So I know they've been kind of pushing to get some workshops together. So if there's anything that you guys, would be interested in learning as far as photography, just toss it to me, and I'll get to the people at CTPPA and get it scheduled in. Okay. All right. That being said, since I don't have anything really scheduled for today, I'm just going to leave it open for any questions that you may have, anything that you want to touch on, any problems that you have that you need a fix for. Otherwise,
I've been doing something a little bit different. I've been a hard time figuring out when my editing is finished. So what I've tried to do now is do one, edit, leave it alone for 3 or 4 days, get another one. I find that's working fine for me. Maybe 3 or 4 days later, then look at it again and figure out, oh, geez, this I did it wrong or that's wrong. That seems to be working out for me now. That I'm putting it down, not doing it all at once.
yeah. Yeah, when you are editing an image, there's a lot of psychology that goes into this, okay? And I've touched on it before, as far as how the image progresses when you're making an adjustment. If you recall, I normally say, here, let me just pull up.
Making a duplicate of it and then having seeing the progression, 2 or 3 photos. I look at one, then make a duplicate of that, and then do it again. Make another duplicate. I can see how I've been progressing.
Yeah.
That kind of works out fine for me. So I don't know.
Yeah, that is a perfect idea. All right, so let me just recognize that one, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am going to be right down the street from the Thomaston Railroad Museum. Okay. So I'm really looking forward to it. All right. So if you recall, I said that when you have an image in front of you, and of course, the first thing that you want to do is kind of have a game plan of what you want to do as far as editing. Now, you don't need to have the full finished image concrete in your head. There are very, very seldom times when you start an image where you have a clear idea of where you want to be. All right. I find most of the time when you are editing, you have a vague concept, all right, of what you want, but it's not until you actually start seeing the development that vague concept starts solidifying. So it's okay not to have, the end goal already in sight. But as you guys know, I say you're going to start off normalizing the image, so fixing what is obviously wrong. All right, and then you go into the creative edits. All right, so here I have this bird, and the one thing I definitely want to do. All right, if you squint your eyes. Oh, wait a minute. I almost forgot. I should be sharing. Where's my share? Let me share this. There we go. Okay. If you squint your eyes, that gives you a bit of an indication of what needs to be fixed on an image, or where you need to start with your edit. So if you squint your eyes on this, you're going to see that we have this area up here that's very bright, this area here that's very bright, this down here that's very bright, and this section right here of the bird that's very bright. Okay, and we have this little bit here. So we have these very bright elements that are competing against each other. So now what we don't see is we don't see we don't see the bird really standing out on its own. Okay, so that tells me that I want to isolate my bird from all this background, and all this needs to be burnt down. Okay, so that means I have to create a couple of masks. All right, so I'm going to go here, and I'm just going to select my background, and because this is AI, it's going to take the computer a few minutes, right? And it did a fairly decent job. There's some parts at the bottom, all right. But what I want to do is I'm going to subtract from the background. Okay, I'm going to subtract, and I'm going to use the brush, and I just want to give myself I'm going to feather it 100%. And I'm just going to go ahead and bring this part of the branch in here. All right. I don't want that to be as affected with that background. Okay. And we have this part of the bird's tail feather that is also not part of the mask. I want it to, there we go. All right, so now I have just my background. All right. And if we just use the exposure slider, okay, and if I start dragging this exposure slider down a little bit, okay, every time I make a small little increment, I notice the change, but then my eyes immediately readjusts to the entirety of the image. Okay.
Right.
And the one thing you notice that I'm purposely I tend to purposely use kind of a neutral middle gray, a little bit more on the darker side for the background of the UI of the program, and that's you can select it and your actually I think I might need to be out of the mask, but you're able to change that from and choose whatever color. Okay. Or it might be in the preference menu. All right. But now, because my eyes adjust so quickly, okay, and this is just a microcosm of what you're describing, Bob, is that I can't quite tell if the edit I did is enough. All right. Did it accomplish? All right. So you have to do a lot of checks and balances. All right. So the first check, of course, is I would default back to that squint test. All right. And the one thing that I notice is while the bird has isolated a little bit more on that background, it's still competing with those initial bright spots of the background that were there. Okay. So now let me just reset that. One of the things that I normally tell people is instead of going little bit increment, little increment, little increment, trying to find what feels right, I usually say, go all the way and then bring it back until you feel that looks right. Okay. And that to me looks so much better. Okay.
It does.
And as a matter of fact, I would even say, uh, uh, well, now let me stop myself before I say something foolish. This is a point where having an understanding, at least a basic understanding of the tools really, really helps. Because now I've made this modification, but if I still, yes, it looks better, but if I still do that squint test, those bright spots are still pulling my eye. So that tells me that the exposure slider by itself is not the solution. I need to attack it with something else. So what do we need to use? Which slider? Well, obviously these are highlights. So let's go with our highlight slider. Okay. And if we pull that down, all right, if we pull that down a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, our eye keeps getting adjusted. It keeps getting adjusted and we don't know where to stop. But if we go all the way, all right, oh, see, that looks pretty good. Okay. I'm maxed out there. Okay. So what's adjacent to my highlights? Well, my white point. All right, so let's take that down. Okay, well, now it looks a little bit too much. It looks too dark. So let's bring that up a little bit. All right, and that looks better. So now if I do the squint test to it and I squint my eyes, what really, really stands out is the bird. Okay. All right, so now, okay, the question is,
Because it looks like you calmed the waters now.
oh yeah, very much so. Very much so. Our eye
Right.
no longer is bouncing, through all those different spots. It's landing exactly where I want. But there's a problem that I've created, and that is the subject now looks like it's floating in a space of darkness. Okay? Because we've darkened that background, all right, but we haven't really done anything with the perch that the bird is on. All right, so now let's put ourselves in Bob's situation where he doesn't quite know, if the editing is done. Okay, does it look better? Yeah, absolutely. Is the editing finished? Well, it could be argued that, yeah, I mean, I've made that subject really pop forward. All right. There's no question when somebody looks at this, what is the subject of my photograph? Okay. So here's where it's kind of like a twofold. All right. Bob mentioned stepping away from the computer. Okay. And this is a discipline that needs to be refined. It's not something that's going to happen automatically. It's not like you're going to go, oh, I need to step away from the computer because I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. Okay. It's not something that normally pops up. Most of the time, when we are in an editing mode, we want to get the edit finished. And stepping away, letting our eyes relax, is not conducive to getting it done. All right. So that's why I said it's a discipline that you need to steel yourself towards and make a conscious attempt to step away. All right. So when you step away and Bob, you mentioned 2 or 3 days.
Sometimes a day or so, they come back and
Yeah.
all of a sudden, hey, this doesn't look like what I wanted. It
Uh,
looks off, too bright.
Yeah. It-
Now I got to figure out what I want. Now I re-edit it again, and that's why I keep I'll make a copy of this, a
Yeah.
duplicate of it, and so I'll see the progression.
Right.
Of this one, that
Right.
one, and the next one. That's what worked for me at my.
Oh no, absolutely, absolutely. But what I would even suggest is give yourself a 10-minute break instead of 1 day, 2 day, 3 days, whatever. Give yourself a 10-minute break. All right.
The time.
Look somewhere else. Go help your wife with something. Wash a dish. Come back. 10 minutes later, your eyes. Even if you're just looking, walk to the window and look outside. See what's happening outside. Change the environment that your eyes are looking at. Don't look at another screen. Don't look at the TV. Look at something that's not screen related. In a house, go outside, get some sunlight, come back 10 minutes later and look at it. And all of a sudden, what it does is it resets your brain because you've now your attention was refocused elsewhere, away from what you were doing editing wise. Okay, so you've cleared. It's like going to a restaurant and doing a palate cleansing between courses. All right, you've cleansed the mental palate, and now you come back, and the first question you ask yourself is back to the beginning. What is wrong with this image? Okay. We know we've already done the normalizing. All right. But here we are at the next stage. We are applying our artistic edits. Okay. But that question's still very important. What is wrong with this image? Well, it kind of looks like, that branch is a little lost. Okay. So now let's make another mask. All right, we're going to create another mask. I'm just going to use a brush. Let me make it a little bit larger. And I'm just going to paint along that. Oh, and I have auto mask on. I don't need auto mask on. It's missing some parts. All right, and I'm just going to take the highlights, okay, because now we have to understand, okay, this is where that zone system comes into play. Okay, what is the luminosity of the pixels that I want to manipulate? Okay, we have a lot of dark tones, kind of just a little darker than middle gray, to full shadows. All right. So I want to bring those midtones out. Okay. Now I could go straight to the midtones, and that really seems to do a job. All right. I'm going to go ahead and I want to clean up my mask just a little bit. I want to hit just the top. So I'm going to press the Alt key, which will send me to my eraser, and I'm just going to remove just the bottom half of that branch, the mask on the branch. Okay. All right. And of course, if we go all the way, it looks like crap. Okay. But now we can come back and we can bring it back and we can say, all right, I don't want it being a spotlight. I don't want it competing with the bird, but I do want it to stand out. And right about there, that makes it stand out. I might even say maybe even a little bit less. Okay. So now that looks pretty good. Okay. I'm still kind of distracted by all of this up here and some of this, right? And I think we can take care of that just by doing a bit of a crop. So if we crop in, all right, I don't want to crowd my bird too much. Hit enter and voila. And just that, I think that alone makes this a finished product. Okay. Or so we think, right? And this is where you might want to go and take that day and then come back to it. All right. And you know, it's funny because I have mentioned in the past, now that you have all this knowledge under your belt, go back 5, 8, 10 years.
That's a
Look,
joke.
no, I'm serious. Look at, yes,
Well, I mean,
you're
if you
going
look at it
to,
and say,
you're going to laugh. But if you re-edit some of those images, oh my God. Can you imagine what you can do now? All right. So anyway, yeah, I might even want to go ahead and darken that upper corner up here. It's still looking a little bit. I'm just going to completely remove it. There we go. Maybe even more. Okay. There. And I can call it quits. All right. Now, of course, we step away, give it a day, give it a couple days. All right. Hopefully not too long because you don't want to forget that you have that image. You come back to it and you say, oh, yeah, I see what I did. But now that I'm seeing it with fresh eyes, I completely forgot all these edits that I did. I'm looking at it with fresh eyes. I can see that, you know, there is a section of the bird that's kind of getting lost. Okay, so maybe I need to fix that. All right, so we're going to come back with a mask, create a brush mask. Where is it? Make it a little small. I'm just going to go ahead and paint that in. And since that is our shadows, let's bring that up. Okay. And bring down the highlight a little bit there. Yeah, that highlight really doesn't do much. Okay. All right. And you know what? Let's go here and there we go. Fix that up right there. All right. So now that works a little bit better. Okay. So allowing your eyes to rest, allowing your mind to reset is definitely a worthwhile tool. Now, obviously it depends on the, let me switch this over. It's going to depend on what the image is. Obviously, some run-of-the-mill images, like Tony will know this one. event photos. Event photos, they kind of tend to be disposables. All right. They capture the moment. They share them on Facebook. They share them on Instagram. They share them on Twitter, maybe for a couple of weeks, and then it kind of trails off and they never see those images again. So I'm not going to spend half an hour on an image making it look beautiful because one, I'm not going to get paid for it. Nobody's going to appreciate the work, and overall, who cares? All right. However, if I am working for what I would call a hero shot. Now, a hero shot, it might be something that you want to print and frame and hang on your wall. All right. This is something that's going to live in people's faces for a very long time. All right. So you want to make sure that it stands up to scrutiny. You don't want people walking by and go, oh, wow, there's a glaring mistake right here. Because you know what's going to happen? Every time they walk by, what are they going to see? They're going to see that mistake.
Mistake.
Absolutely. It's human nature. Okay. And what's funny is, and you guys, I'm sure will agree, we are our own worst critics. There are images hanging in my house that I've spotted some little tiny little thing that I would like to change. Nobody else ever picks up on it, but I know it's there and it bugs the heck out of me. And it's just, it's my, my experience and my willpower that stops me from going back, fixing it, reprinting it, reframing it, and putting it up there. It's the commercial discipline that I've built over the years that stops me from doing that. However, I do want to spend a little extra time making sure that I get, if I get 90% good, if I get 95% looking good, I'm happy, and I'll be more than proud to print it and hang it on my wall. Okay. And I could ignore that, 5% error. All right. But that comes with taking your time, allowing your eyes to acclimate to what it is that you're doing. So that way when you come back at it with fresh eyes, you can see those flaws. All right. All right. So yes, very much recommended. Take that, break. But what I would suggest is as you are editing, do those occasional 10, 15 minutes breaks. Step away from the computer, come back, and you'll be amazed what you pick up when you do that. All right.
I do have about 1% of my photos that
Mhm.
I really want to work on it.
Oh yeah,
All
no,
of them.
absolutely. Absolutely.
It's
Yes.
just the ones I think that are perceived to me.
Yep. Yep.
It's my eye. That's to me.
Eh,
Somebody else will look at it and say, "Ah, I don't like it," but that's it.
Well,
That's
that's
my
the thing. Well, that's the thing I hate about competition is, and I spend too much time on a competition photo because it has to be perfect. Doesn't have to be perfect, even if I'm displaying it at the North Haven Fair or whatever, because that type of competition isn't as strict, or if I'm putting it on Facebook, or even if I'm exhibiting it at a library. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect. If it's competition, it has to be 100% perfect. It takes more time than I care to put into it. And sometimes I take the attitude that my photography hobby has to have a money limit, or my time is money, meaning like today I went out to South Florida to take pictures.
Hmm.
Yes, I traveled from here to there, but I also did some other things between there and here.
Yep.
It's just one of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing about personal work is that uh, we don't need to edit to appeal to anybody else but ourselves. Okay. And I find that it at least for me, there's a couple of variables that play into it. One, I definitely edit to my eyes. Okay. I've mentioned in the past that I have um, not color blindness, but a color deficiency where I have a hard time distinguishing between the really, really light pastel colors, especially in the green and the red spectrum. Okay. Uh, so I tend to favor images that are a little bit more, not, I don't want to say oversaturated, but have a little bit more saturation. Okay. Uh, and I think that's partly part of the reason why I had such a love affair with black and white photography back in the film days, is because it eliminated that whole aspect for me, and it just, oh, I loved it. Okay. But the other thing, I also tend to favor images that are a little bit more contrasty. All right. Because to me, to my eyes, they look really, really good. All right. Now, when I first started editing, I would kind of overdo it. All right. And people would call me out and says, ooh, yeah, that's a little bit too heavy handed on the contrast. Or it's a little too heavy handed with the saturation. And I would look at it and I'm like, nah, that looks good to me.
I have a problem with that. I have cataracts coming, so
Yeah.
you know the cataract is looking through a foggy lens, and I'm saying, oh, I have my wife look at it every now and then. Is those colors too bright?
Yep.
So,
Was that her laughing in the background?
and so I have a tendency of oversaturating because my cataracts are just starting to come in,
Yep.
and I can look at one eye worse than the other, and I'm saying, oh man, am I too saturated? Am I not?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I got critiqued by a professional last year personally that I oversaturate. So I don't oversaturate as much as I used to. And part of the reason why I oversaturate is because I'm shooting for the screen. I feel the
Yes.
screen needs a
Yeah.
little saturation, and my experience with doing a ton of years of video tells me you really want saturation.
Yeah. Well, color saturation. See, the thing is, we'll get into the judging in a little bit. I have my comments, and I'm sure you guys know some of them. But the amount of saturation, you can excuse it as being a deciding factor of how you edit. That's a stylistic choice. All right. But one thing that I've learned is, especially because I do a lot of commercial work, is that even though I am editing for myself, there is that narcissistic element involved where I want others to appreciate the effort that I put into the photography and into the editing, and getting a positive feedback just kind of feels good, and who does not want to be made to feel good about their art? I know I do. All right. So I've tempered it back. I've readjusted my personal expectations. So now, I don't. Yeah, now let me take it back, because I do on occasion do edits that are a little bit on the saturated side. But the majority of the times I kind of tend to tone it down. All right. But part of that has been that I've trained my eyes to be aware of when I'm going over the limit. Okay. And what I've done is, and of course, it comes with any time you do anything a repeated amount of times, and it becomes second nature, that you've readjusted your limits. All right. So I used to really push the saturation. Okay. And I thought that was good. And then I've readjusted it down, not so much for myself, but just to be more acceptable to others. All right. So I started editing a little bit to other people's eyes. All right. So here's my level that I would normally edit. Here's their level that they would like to see. I found a compromise in the middle. And I've readjusted myself to that middle compromise, where that now becomes the norm. And I find that I get a lot less people coming back saying, "Ooh, that's a little bit, garish. It's a little crunchy. It's a little whatever words they want to use to describe the fact that I'm oversaturating or over contrasting my images." All right. To the point where that has become the normal. Okay. And my own tastes have adjusted to it. But I liken that being part of that learning process of knowing where is the actual limit. Okay. Uh, like they say, you can throw stuff on the wall and see where it sticks. All right. But if you don't have those checks and balances, and you're hitting the wall too high, and nobody can attain it, then it becomes a problem. Okay. So being able to recognize it and toning it down, that comes with discipline. That comes with experience. All right. So when you're editing for yourself, definitely, edit for yourself. Who cares what others think? All right. But if you're editing for competition, suddenly you are no longer editing for yourself. You are editing for not even, and this is the hard part, not even a judge. You're not editing for a judge, because you don't know how that judge is going to favor a particular style over another, how they're going to react to this over that. It becomes a crapshoot. All right. So now it's like a guessing game. And that can lead to a lot of aggravation for a lot of people getting into competition, because one, you're entering into a realm of the Badlands, the wild country. All right. You don't know where to settle down with your editing, because you don't know who's going to be judging it and what they're going to like. So you're just going blind and hoping for the best. All right. So at this,
I'm editing a wedding that I shot right now
mm-hmm.
about figuring out what who to color for, myself or
Well,
a couple that I don't even know.
yeah, but here's the thing with wedding photography in comparison to personal work. All right. So wedding photography, I categorize that as commercial work. All right, because, but I'm going to put a little caveat into this.
It is commercial.
It's commercial work, but it also has a foothold in your own personal artistic style. Most people, when they hire, well, most people who are knowledgeable will hire a wedding photographer not because it's a person who is able to use a professional camera. All right. Anybody can do that. Hopefully, they're hiring you for your vision and your ability to generate images that appeal to them. All right. And this is where a portfolio, let me expand on that. A consistent portfolio comes into place. All right. When you're first starting off in wedding photography, you're experimenting with yourself as much as with the images. All right. You probably haven't landed on your visual style. Right. It's not until you've had a couple of weddings under your belt and you've edited hundreds and hundreds of images that you start falling into that, this is my style. Okay. But once you get there, once you have that body of work that people look at and say, oh, I like this photographer's style, they're not hiring you to be a camera operator. They're hiring you for you to make them look like what they're seeing on that website. Okay. So having a consistent editing style really, really plays into editing wedding photos. Okay. And hopefully at this point, Alan, you have enough under your belt where you can create actions and presets that make editing to that style a little bit faster for you.
Yep.
You know, but the thing is, you know, there is a certain commercial aspect, but there's also your own personal influence. Now, however, the nice thing about shooting weddings is that you're not just, it's not like the old days, and I'm going back 50 years, where you deliver an album of like, at the max, 20 pictures. Remember those days? Now they're demanding hundreds.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm up to 108 that would never have gotten into an album back in the 70s.
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly. Exactly. But the nice thing is that you can now pick and choose and generate those nice 20 images, 30 images that will go into that printed album. The rest, will not go to print. They're just going to be shared social media and they're going to reside on a computer somewhere. All right. And this allows you to kind of experiment and say, okay, I'm going to do some of these in black and white. I'm going to do some of these in high key. I'm going to do some of these in low key. And I know I have the flexibility to kind of step away to a certain extent from my normal style and experiment because I already have in the bag that set of images that they're going to love because it's edited to the style that they hired me for. Okay. So now all the other images allows you to, obviously you don't want to go too crazy and scare them. All right. And have them come back and say, what the hell did you do to my photo? I hate this. All right. Reserve that for your own private portfolio. Don't give it to them.
Halloween.
What's that?
Oh no, it's Halloween.
Yeah.
Funny.
so reserve the experimentation stuff for your own private library. Don't give it to the client. Give it to the client. And this is where, understanding what that threshold is very important. Okay. And that threshold, that understanding comes from experience, but when it comes to judging, all right, I have a lot of thoughts on that. Okay. Some of it is the fault of the judges. Oh boy. Some of it is the fault of the people submitting to a certain extent. Okay. Because I've judged some competitions in my day, and I've seen some work being submitted that should never have been submitted. Okay. But then again, everybody has to start somewhere. Right? Um, but if you are honest with yourself, and you really analyze the image and says, okay, based on past performances of this competition, is the image that I am submitting able to hold its ground? And it's tough because we are emotionally connected to these images. We poured our blood, sweat, and tears, sometimes literally, into creating these images. All right. So it's very difficult to distance ourselves from what we create and then just let it loose and take a life of its own. And it's also hard to distance ourselves and say, okay, have I put the best effort into this? All right. Am I putting my best forward with this image, or should I not enter this image? Okay. I've seen people put in images because they like the image. All right. And all right. I can think of one in particular because she, whenever I do any kind of judging, I always let the people know. All right. Oftentimes it's you judge, you give it a score. Here's the winner, first, second, third place. Here's, the popular vote, whatever. They don't understand what went into the decision making. So whenever I judge, I always tell people, I'm available. If you want to know why I scored your particular image the way I did, and if you want some feedback, seek me out. I'll be more than happy to share why I did what I did. Okay. And I remember this young girl, must have been in her 20s, mid 20s. She put in, I don't want to call her out too much. I don't remember her name, but she submitted a photo, a nice big close up of a dandelion, the dandelion head that's gone to seed. And she was upset that it didn't place higher than what I gave it. And well, she didn't place at all. So she wanted to know why I didn't score it higher. Okay. Because in her mind, she had a winner. All right. So I started telling her, giving her some input. And this is where she went wrong. All right. I told her, you picked a subject that really it's boring. Nobody cares about this. They're pretty. They are challenging. They will, be a personal challenge for you to get down on its level, the close up, the depth of field. Technically, you are photographing to solve a challenge. Artistically, everybody has photographed these. Everybody has photographed flowers. Everybody has photographed fields. Everybody has photographed mountains. Okay? Everybody's done it. Everybody's done birds. Sorry, Alan, everybody's done eagles. Everybody's done, ducks on a pond. I have a ton of them in my photo collection. All right. They'll never see competition unless you show me something uniquely different. Okay. And Alan has done that quite a few times, especially the birds in flight that he's captured. So if you want to see some really good, but the bird sitting on a tree branch, Alan, I'm sure you'll back me up. Everybody gets those. Those are easy photographs to get. Right?
You can always stay up. You can always stay there so long that, hey, this is what I'm going to get for today, and that's all there is to it.
Yep.
But yeah.
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 So, so artistically, they're emotionally, they're all right. So once you don't lie to yourself, once you don't lie to yourself about your own photography, then you can move forward. But if you're just going to sit there and lie to yourself about this dandelion is the best image in the world, I poured my blood, sweat, and tears in it, it should be number one, you're just going down the path of heartache. All right. But if you realize that, yes.
Hey, Churchill, I want to let you know that you've done this girl an amazing justice, and if she observes it, she'll start to grow.
Oh, absolutely.
Grow.
Absolutely.
Level off, and so I wanted to say that before you continued. I wanted to remember to tell you that because that's how you really grow.
Yep.
That's all.
Fortunately, she was receptive by the end of the conversation.
Good.
She came to realize, because the fortunate thing is, in the area that she had her image were other images of flowers. And I was able to point to them and say, okay, what do you think of that? And her comment was, yeah, it's a flower. When I turned it around to her, it clicked. It clicked. All right. Now, at that same show, there was a lady who did, it was a little path that led to kind of this tree on a bit of a bluff. And it was over, I guess, overlooking a beach in the distance. Okay. Pretty picture, nice day, regular day, nothing exciting about the day, nothing exciting about the path, nothing exciting about the tree. All right. And I told her what would have made it better would have been if it was unique lighting or a unique scene, or if anything, put a person on the path to become a subject. Because a path leading to a tree on a bluff overlooking a beach, there is nothing for the eye to settle on. Okay, it would have been great if there was a element that can be the principal focus of the image. And in her case, she completely disagreed with me. She said the path and the tree was the subject.
Oh man.
I didn't see it. She didn't do anything to make it stand out that there was anything special about the path, anything special about the tree. anything special about the day, you know, nothing special about that image. But she insisted that, you know, it was the subject was the path and the tree. And there was nothing I could have said to dissuade her. And unfortunately, when you close off your mind to any kind of uh, interpretations or explanations or justifications, you're not going to grow. Like you said, you're not going to grow. You're not going to be able to take that step forward. You're not going to be able to separate yourself from your images. You know, I kind of, I'm a bit thankful in the fact that I went into commercial art rather than fine art as a kid. Uh, I mean, my first, I guess you can say, job was doing spot illustrations for the high school newspaper. And let me tell you, up to that point, my biggest fan was my family, in particular, my mother. Okay. Anytime,
Mom.
yeah, gotta love moms. Moms will support you 100%. I would draw a picture. It would be the best thing she's ever seen. She would give it prime real estate on the front of the refrigerator being held up by magnets. So that way she can see it on a day in and day out basis, right?
Right.
And talk about an ego boost. I was like, oh, this is great feeling. Mom loves my image. Okay. Put that into a commercial context, I would have gotten laughed at. I was forced to really, really, really step up my illustration game in order to do anything commercially. Now, I had the buffer of being in high school, all right? So that's kind of like a little bit of a step above the mom, all right? Where they're still going to give you an attaboy, all right? But they're not going to let anything and everything slip through. They're not going to let, you know, garbage slip through, okay? You need to really put in the work in order to get your stuff into the school newspaper, all right? But it doesn't have to be that final, polished, years of experience type of work, you know? So I was grateful for that. And it wasn't until I went into college and started taking some college level classes that I came onto my own. But the thing is, I learned very, very early on to separate my personal feelings from my work. All right. And that taught me how, you know, by being able to separate, I was able to look at my work with a different set of eyes. All right. A more critical set of eyes. All right. But it took work. It took literal tears, all right, that nobody likes my stuff. I'm a failure. I'm gonna just throw everything up, you know, and that ugly crying because I put all my emotion into it and everybody hated it, you know. Once I got over that stage, man, did I learn so much. But it takes a certain discipline to separate yourself emotionally from what you create. And fortunately, I was able to learn that really, really early on, you know. So when it comes to putting your stuff out there for competition, seriously, I'll tell you firsthand experience. There is absolutely nothing personal about how we judge an image, because every single time I've done image competitions, I have no clue who the photographers are. All right. So personality of who created it does not even play. Okay. What I am judging against is my own personal experience with the editing process, with the capturing process, all right, with the presentation process, with the composition process, and with all the hundreds of thousands of images that I have viewed up to this point. All right. All the hundreds and thousands of images that I've ranked in my head. This is a great picture. This is a shitty picture. All right.
Yeah.
You're somewhere in there. All right. Your image is one of the hundreds of thousands that gets categorized in my head, somewhere in there. Okay. Now, obviously, we take into consideration what the level of the photographer or the level of photography the competition is geared for. If it's a beginner's competition, I know I'm going to be a little bit more lenient with my judging than say it's a pro competition. All right. Because like I did one for Ohio, they had 3 levels. They had professional photographers. If you consider yourself a professional photographer and you want to enter the competition, this is your category. Okay. If you are an amateur photographer, this is your category. All right. And if you are a youth, 18 years or younger, because they opened it up to high school and middle school, this is your category. Guess what? I'm not judging them, that the youth category, I'm not judging them with the same criteria I would for the professionals. Right? I adjust accordingly. Okay. But there are certain basics that apply across the board. I just weigh them a little bit heavily on the pro side than I do on the amateur side or the youth side. Okay. So obviously understanding what you are entering into, okay, will give you an indication. But still, you want to make sure that you put the very best effort that you can in your image selection. All right. Make sure that it fits the category. All right. And here's another pet peeve of mine. All right. And I've done this. I've done it. I learned my lesson not to do it. Is that a category comes up, the first thing you do is you go through your past library of everything you shot to see if you can find something back there that's going to fit this category now. We've all done it, right? You can't do that. All right. It's better if you just take the time, because usually there's a lead up. It's not like a competition comes up and says, oh, shoot, I got to find something for tomorrow. All right. Most of the times you have a couple of weeks, a couple of months in advance to come up with something. All right. Shoot for the competition. All right. Don't try to shoehorn something, because the more you try to force something, it's that square peg in a round hole. The more of a square peg you have in your image, trying to fit it into that round hole of the competition, right off the bat, you're already looking at a failure, So go ahead and photograph that round peg, so at least you are in the ballpark. All right. And then, really read through what the requirements are and make sure that you're on target, especially for those of you who are in clubs where they have themed competitions every month. All right. They publish those themes well in advance. Okay. So when you go out with your camera, bring that list with you. Okay. Bring it with you. Try to check off a few, as many as you can on that list. Okay. And then keep them in the side pocket. Don't commit to those images saying, oh, okay, here's this theme. I photographed it. Okay, got it. Okay. Don't do that. All right. The next time you go out and you're spending time with your camera, bring that same list. Okay. And don't do this. Don't say, oh, I already got that one. Don't. Reshoot for that theme. Okay. Because if you can get a variety of images for that one theme, then you have the luxury of looking at all of them. Let's say it's 3, 4, 5 images. Okay. And then you can pick the strongest of those 5 and then commit to editing that the best way you can for that competition. That's going to allow you to rank higher. Okay. Rather than just shooting once, got it. Okay. I checked it off my to-do list. That's the one I'm going to submit, and being a subpar image that you're submitting because you have nothing else to submit. Okay. So, word of advice. Okay. Now, if you are associated with a club and you are familiar with the judge and how they've judged before, oh my God, do your best to edit to their taste. If you want to win, if winning is the goal, edit to that judge, because that's going to now rank you higher, regardless of whether you like the edit or not. Okay? Because competition is not so much about editing for yourself as it is for editing to others. So think of it less as personal art and more as commissioned art, where you're commissioned to do a piece to fit somebody else. Okay, to fit a mood, to fit a theme, to fit an environment, to fit a space, to fit a judge. All right, and that will allow you to rank higher. All right. Once you won, re-edit it, edit it for yourself. That's fine, you know.
Yeah.
But going back to what I said earlier, where, I would edit for myself, and a lot of people used to really call me out on it. But I didn't edit to other people. I found that middle ground. Okay. You're going to find that when you're editing for a judge, what you normally would do will start coming down and hitting more of that bell curve that the majority of the people like. All right. Because, there's the bell curve. It's like on this end of the bell curve is the images, your images that nobody likes, not even yourself. And then over here, the other end of the images are all those images that you edited for yourself that only you like. Okay. But once you start learning to edit for the middle part of that bell curve, then you're going to get a lot more appreciation from a wider audience for your work. Okay. And then you're going to find that your tastes are going to start lining up more towards that center. Okay. All right. So that's my advice. All right. Good question there, Bill and Bob.
Photography question, and I don't know if it could be handled in Lightroom. I'm thinking to myself, why would you use it? It's called focus stacking. Why would you use focus stacking?
Oh,
Would the image look too flat if it's that sharp?
okay.
Well, it has
Um,
nothing to do it may not have anything to do with Lightroom, but is it appropriate to ask that in this forum?
yeah, absolutely. Perfect. All right, hold on. Let's see. Let me
First
see
time
if.
I heard of it, and I had no idea what it was, and it was like, why do you need to shoot multiple focus points?
Yep. Let me see if I can find. Where
I said
is?
to myself, I didn't see an image of what it looks like of being multiply focused, and I'm like, wow, your eyes better be in good shape to see all those focal points. If I sound a little lispy, I just came from the dentist, and boy, they did the number on me.
All right. Let's see.
I brush every day.
Yep. All right. So
Brushing my molars too much, according to the dentist.
oops. Hold on 1 second.
I didn't mean. I saw that.
Oops.
I gotta ask Duck this question. Photo stacking. You.
All right. Hold on 1 second. Where? What the heck?
I'm not even gonna take the group off base.
All right. So let me go to here. Shift tab. Let me expand this out. There we go. Okay. Can I? Oops. What the heck? All right. Here we go. Okay. Good. 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 Okay. So focus stacking. Focus. All right. Every lens has a very specific depth of focus. I'm going to use the term depth of focus rather than depth of field. I tend to favor depth of focus because it kind of explains a little bit better what is happening. Okay. So we have the camera and we have a lens, whatever that lens is. It doesn't matter. Okay. Just understand different lenses are going to have different depths of focus. All right. So the lens looks out into the world and it can go out and view anything to infinity. Okay. So it can focus on infinity. All right. And there will usually be a close distance where it can focus close to the lens, but no closer. Okay. So for example, a telephoto lens will usually have a minimum distance of roughly about 18 inches. So 18 inches from the front of the lens to the subject, that's like no man's land. You can't focus. All right. However, a lens with, let's say, a macro capabilities, well, you can literally get a quarter of an inch, half an inch away from the subject, and it's going to focus, correct? You understand that, right? All right.
The macro is designed for if you want to shoot coins or a bug or.
Macro is designed to allow you to move in closer to your subject so that you can fill the viewfinder, you can fill the image with the subject. Okay, that's all it does. All right. Now, so we have our minimum and we have our max. Okay, and then we have our focal plane. All right, a focal plane is where. Can you guys see that green? Yeah. Okay. The focal plane is where the lens is actually focusing on. Make sense? Okay. From that focal plane towards the lens, all right, the focus is going to start degrading. So it's going to be sharp here, right? And by the time it gets to the lens, all right, it's going to be blurry. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. The same thing happens from the focal plane towards infinity. We are the sharpest right at the focal plane, and we're going to be blurry all the way out here, all right? But because we're at infinity there, all right, this literally goes on forever, okay? So when you see here, we have a preset distance, all right? So this is a known distance, okay, from here, all right? So this is a known distance from, okay? From here, oops, from here to here is an unknown distance because obviously it goes to infinity, okay? But somewhere in here, there may be other objects, all right? It could be a tree, could be a house, right? Who knows what's here, okay? We have our subject here, all right? And of course, there's going to be stuff in front of the person, all right? And this gives us that nice blur effect behind and blur effect in front of our field of focus, right? Our focal plane. Okay. With all cameras, the moment it starts going to blur where we can't make out what it is, or the edges become fuzzy, and likewise here, this tends to be a little bit further, right? The minute it starts going to blur, this area here, this is our field of focus,
Okay.
all right, or our field, our field of focus, all right, what we would collectively look at as being relatively sharp. Okay, make sense?
Yes.
All right. Now, the minute, let me bring my camera back. Oh, let's, okay. The minute we want to focus on something that is a lot closer, all right, we still have that problem, all right? Let's say this right here is our focal plane, okay? This right here to this right here is our camera to subject distance, all right? And then we have our, all right, so camera to subject. And then here we have our subject to background. Remember, background is infinity distance, okay? And then within that space, of course, we have an area that we would consider relatively sharp. Follows? Okay. So that means that the front of the flower is going to be out of focus. The back of the flower is going to be out of focus. All right. And if we want to get even tighter, let's say with a macro, that becomes even shallower. Okay. So let's say, all right, here we have, I'm going to draw, this is a coin. All right. So we have Abraham Lincoln here. All right. E pluribus unum. There's our coin. Okay. We put our focal plane here. What's going to happen is that this part here is the only part that is in focus. All right, no matter what we do, we can try to really crank up our aperture, you know, really close it down, f22, f36, whatever the, you know, the depth of focus, the depth of field is not going to allow the front or the rear of that subject to be in focus. Now, I'm using a close-up of a coin and a close-up of a flower as an example, but this applies across the board to anything you want to photograph, okay? Regardless of you know, your field of view, okay? So if I want everything from the front to the back to be in focus on the flower, and the front and the back to be in focus on the coin, I need to take multiple images, okay? So I need to take one where my focal plane is at the front, okay? Because that's going to allow me to get this much in focus, okay? Then I move my focal plane here. I take another photograph because it takes this much of the flower in focus. I move it again, I take this much, I move it again, I take this much, I move it again, I take this much, all right? So now I have 5 images in a focus stack. Well, no, I have 5 images, okay?
Excuse me. Is that anything like old-fashioned pin registration?
Old-fashioned what?
Old view cameras had pin registration that you could move them to shoot across the film plane. Is that like that?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
View cameras.
Sorry.
View cameras is a different animal. You can actually use the Scheinflug effect to tilt your lens to get more of the subject in focus, but that's a totally different thing. All right.
Thank you.
But yeah, there's technically no pin registration. All right. Now there is software that will allow you to plug into your camera, and the software controls the camera, and in essence the software becomes your pin registration, and it
Wow.
knows how many images it needs from front to back at what distance, and then it takes the photo. All right, but you can do this manually, you can do this on your own. You just got to understand that.
So interesting.
What's that?
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
So when you're doing this manually, what you have to do is pay attention to your focal plane in camera, all right? So that when you move the focal plane back through the image, you know that, oh, I can't go too far, because you don't want a gap, all right? You don't want, yeah, you want the overlap. You don't want a gap anywhere with this, all right? So, and then of course you do the same thing here, you know, one at the beginning, one here, one here, one here, all right? And this one may require, you know, instead of 5 images, you got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 images, all right? That, you know, somewhere along that subject, there is a section that is in sharp focus. All right. So now what you do is you load this into software. You can do it in Photoshop, or you can do it in, they sell specialty software that allows you to focus stack. All right. So when it focus stacks, the software will load all 5 or all 8 images into layers, one on top of each other. Okay. Here, actually, let me do this a little bit better. Let me go here. I'll do 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And it knows that the top image, this is the area that is in focus. The second image, this is the area that is in focus. The third image, this is the area that's in focus, so forth, right? And what it does, excuse me, it will, oh my goodness. I hate this time of year. My voice
Doug,
really.
they'll have to line each other up there.
Yep. It automatically lines them up, and then it'll create a mask.
Oh my God.
All right.
How cool is that?
It creates a mask so that only those areas that are in sharp focus come through. Okay. And what it does, it you know,
When you shoot it, though.
yeah, it does the software does the manipulation, so it lines up all those sections. So what you get, the end results, is an image that is sharp from front to back. All right, which which compensates for the limits of the lens.
Thank you, Doc.
Okay, so like I said, any subject can be focus stacked. You just have to understand how, what again, it's what is that vision that I want to give. All right.
You have to know depth of field for each f-stop, really.
Yeah, and that's actually easy to do because there are apps. I've mentioned before photo pills.
And the pill you take?
No. It's an app called Photo Pills. It's an app that it's literally a Swiss Army knife of tools for photographers. And one of them is a depth of field calculator. All right. And what you do is you punch in what your camera lens is, what your aperture is, what your subject distance is. All right. So your millimeters, all right, plus your aperture value, plus your distance will give you your field of focus. Okay, and it'll excuse me, it'll spit it out in either feet or meters, however you want. Or if we're talking about close up, it'll give you in inches. All right. So you know that at whatever aperture, let's say you're at f16, f22, whatever, your depth of focus is going to be 0.125. Okay. Which is very, very narrow. Okay. And then you can use that to kind of predetermine whether you should be using, F16 or whether you should go up to F22. All right. Why does that matter? All right. So let's say you have a zoom and you can go from f 5.6, all right, or you can choose f8, or you can choose f11, or you can choose f16, or you can choose f22. All right, let's say that's your range. Okay. Why would you not automatically go to f22, knowing that that's going to be your widest depth of focus.
You don't have enough light sometimes.
You may not have enough light, but more importantly, okay, your camera is designed to favor a very specific spot. Okay, so now we know that your best value, your best bang for your buck on that particular lens is f11. Okay, so I look at my calculator, all right, and I run some numbers, all right, and this one tells me that at f5.6, I'm going to make these up, okay, is I have a 0.125, okay, at f8, I have 132, okay, at f11, I have 0.148, okay, at f16 I have 0.152, and at f22 I have 0.167. All right, I'm making them up, okay. Obviously I don't want to use the extreme ends. All right, I want to cancel those out. One at 5.6 for obvious reasons. All right, I'm not optimizing my depth of focus at this end. Right? Make sense? Okay.
Yes.
I also want to avoid f22. All right, because this is going to give me some problems inherent with most lenses, and that's going to be with chromatic aberration.
Situation.
Okay, so chromatic aberration. All right, so now I want to kind of focus on f8, f11, f16. I'm going to rule out f8 for the same reason I ruled out f5.6. Okay, so that leaves me two. All right, f11 and f16. Okay, and I'm going to notice that the difference between these two numbers, actually between any of these numbers, is minuscule. Minuscule. All right, so let's say my overall width that I'm photographing, what's the width of a quarter? Or width of a penny. Let's say the width of a penny is a ½ inch. Okay, so my penny is 0.5. All right, so the difference between 0.125 and 0.167 is the difference between there and there. Okay,
Oh wow.
all right, so does that make a big difference? No. Yes and no. Yes, it makes a difference because now instead of doing 5 shots, you might need 6. Ooh, big difference. All right. However, what you gain by going to that f11 is the optimal point of your lens,
Sharpest point.
the sharpest point. Okay. So being able to see the numbers will, obviously factor in. Now, if the subject is a house, okay, all right, now the difference between f5.6 and f22 is no longer measured in decimal points. It's actually measured in feet. All right. When we're measuring feet, it may make better sense to go to f16. All right. Because now we are at a much wider depth of, a much wider field of view. We don't need the quality of detail that we would with something like a coin, all right? because we're not going to pull that kind of little detail from something this big anyway. All right. So we can favor the F16 just so that instead of doing a stack of 12, we may be able to do a stack of 8. Okay. Make sense?
Makes sense to me.
All right.
Thank you
So
so much for that.
if you are not familiar with photo pills, I highly recommend it. Now, when would you want to photo stack something? It depends on what the final results are. Okay. Now, typically you will not find people photo stacking a lot of stuff on the macro scale. All right. Unless you're doing something like architecture. All right. Where you want, everything front to back in detail. Okay. But oftentimes when you are dealing with anything quote unquote artistic, having, something go into blur tends to be a benefit. Okay. Where it becomes a detriment is when we start getting into the micro and the macro levels. All right. So imagine photographing the head of a fly or the head of any insect. Okay. At that scale, your depth of field is literally a couple sheets of paper thin. Okay. And at that point, it makes perfect sense because nobody wants to see the front part of a bug's eye in sharp focus and then everything behind that become a big blurry mess. It's not an appealing image. Where the wonder is when you see that everything front to back on that insect being in sharp focus. Right? And at that point, focus stacking is the only solution because you're not going to get a lens that's going to be able to stop down enough to give you that depth of focus where you can get the entire insect front to back on a macro level. Never going to happen.
Yo, great job explaining that.
Awesome. Good question. That was a good question. All right. Thank you for filling my time here for this unprepared stooge here that came on with nothing to talk about today. So thank you
Had a
for
great time at the Imaging USA.
yes, thank you. I will definitely
Bring
give
back some
you.
good stuff.
I'll definitely give you a report. If you've never been to,
Nashville.
Nashville, it's at the
Nashville,
Gaylord
the
Hotel.
Hotel.
Beautiful. I was there, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. So I can just imagine what it looks like now. It was gorgeous then. I can imagine what it looks like now. Hopefully it hasn't gone to pot. But if you've never been to a big photo conference, there's two parts. There's the vendor section, which tends to be open to the public. Anybody can go in there. And then, of course, they have the speakers giving workshops and lectures and things like that. So I'm hoping to do some. I'm going to bring my little video camera. I'm going to see if I can do some video of the vendor spaces, and I'll share them with you guys probably on Facebook.
The program yet?
Uh,
Pick the programs that you want to go.
I've picked one. I haven't had a chance to really sit down and go through, but I did in preparation. I'm bringing my phone with me, obviously. I loaded a program on here called Fireflies that will allow me to record the session, and the AI transcribes it, the whole thing, and it will give me a summary with highlight points of all the talking points that the instructors give.
Oh my God.
So I don't have to worry about taking notes. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going down there with a couple of friends. One of them, he's a professional photographer out of Ohio, and there are certain sessions he's going to go to that I'm not.
Right.
And I'm going to some that he's not going to. So I told him that I'd share my notes with him. You know,
Hey,
why not? So, but anyway, I will see you the Monday after I get back. Okay.
Good trip.
Have fun down there.
have fun.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good
Take care,
time,
Doc.
Doc.
Good
Will do.
time.
Okay.
All right.
Godspeed.
All right, guys. Stay safe in the meantime.
You as well.
Don't do anything I wouldn't. All right. Take care.
Wow.
Thank you for watching Learning Photography with Duck. Brought to you in association with Milford Photo, your local full-service camera store. Located in downtown Milford, Connecticut, Milford Photo offers you a personalized shopping experience. From the latest camera gear to printing and framing services. And, of course, educational workshops to teach you the finer aspects of photography. Don't forget to tell them Duck sent you.